Alright, here's one last look. I just took the 68 for a little drive and still runs. Still won't do more than 55 miles an hour, but that's going to change. So, kind of gives you an idea of the difference of just the height of the trucks. And here's the side view. And again, I'm only using the cab off the GMC, so let the teardown begin on it. That, my friends, is a big block 305 V6. Yeah, it still runs, and it'll be for sale when everything's done. Alright, it's been a little over an hour. I got the whole front clip off. Fenders, grill, hood, bumper, inner fender. I only had one inner fender, so that was fairly easy. But the wind's blowing, so I'm hoping it's not affecting this. But next thing is to separate the junction for the fuse block. I won't be using that, so but it's got a 3/8 bolt. Pull that bolt out and the plug will separate. Gonna separate the steering column, pull it out of the truck, separate the brake booster. Just has the bolts up here in the back, and of course the rod that connects to the brake pedal. Get all the wiring harness off, pull the hoses from the heater core. I'm going to leave the radiator and core support and everything hooked up. I'm not going to use it anyway, but I'm going to use parts of the core support, but I'm not going to need the whole thing. I'll leave the heater box hooked up for now. Then I'll pull the doors, pull the seat out that I had put in there before. I don't know if I've shown you this or not. This is a seat out of a Toyota T100. Shadows aren't helping, but it's got a little armrest in the middle there, and I built the brackets to support that. I'm going to pull that out, pull the cover off of the transmission so that the shifter will clear when I lift the cab, and pretty much gut everything I can out of the cab so I have less to fight with. And custom is right. Well, it's about 5 hours into the whole thing. Steering column, brake boosters off, wires are separated, pulled the seats back out, pulled the doors, transmission cover, dash, cab mount bolts are out. So now I'm going to get it in the garage, hook it up to the hoist, and see if I can't get it to clear, get the cab to clear the core support, and get this moving. Feel better about that. Kind of scary having that up in the air. Well, now that I have the cab off the 68 chassis, and I will say again, this 68 chassis was a long bed dually. This was a farm truck at one time and probably had a stake bed on it. Somebody shortened it and made it basically a 1-ton short bed with this monster V6 and granny low 4-speed. But in that process, I got to looking at how they did this, and you can see where they put in some diamond plate. You can see the shape there. That's overlapping the seam where they had cut the frame, and they did that on both sides, so that's a good thing. You know, you can see the weld there. But the other thing is, look at this front shaft and a carrier bearing, and look at the back shaft. That's funny. That back shaft is maybe 2.5 feet long, and that's strange to me. I would have shortened the front shaft, but that would have involved moving the crossmember. So, as my concern was for the other one, in the 2006 HD chassis, these people went a different direction. I can't say that I would have gone that way though. But at this point, I'm pretty much done with this one. I'm going to put this up for sale, get it on Craigslist somewhere. Somebody wants it, and get it for sale. And now I can focus on getting that cab sitting on the new chassis. As I don't know if I showed you this, you know, gutted the thing out. I still got to get all the wiring out of the way, and I'm probably going to do some repairs on this cab. I didn't really plan to, but I can't stop myself. I'm going to have to fix that. I really wanted to leave these rockers in because they were original. I don't know. I may have to just cut these out. I've already got the parts in my inventory, so I may just have to take care of it. But I'm happy. I'm really happy to have this off of that old chassis now. Okay, this is just the initial look at how the cab is going to sit. I think it's going to clear most everywhere, except I have a problem with the frame, or the cab I should say. The frame is 44 inches wide at this point, and the cab at the top up here is about 41.5. So I'm going to have to cut out a piece to make clearance for the cab on both sides. Hate to do that, but there's really no way around it. You know, if I really wanted to and go crazy, I could probably custom build that to where you'd never notice or see the difference. At this point, I'm not worried about it. All I want to do is make it fit the cab so I can get my mounts figured out and get them in place. As you can see, the cab is, I hope you can see, the cab is tilted forward right now. I know it's kind of hard to tell from these angles, but it's tilted forward, and it can't come down until I section out the back of the cab there. So I'll get that moving and do some adjusting and see what I can come up with. I have to say I'm pretty darn excited about this. I've adjusted the cab around a little bit, trying to make sure things line up, and I've had to raise it just a little bit so that I could clear the core support, and I still am going to do some adjusting on that because I'm concerned that the hood may interfere and hit the core support. So rather than raise the cab up any higher off the frame, I'm probably going to relocate the mounts for the core support, because there are, well, there's 3 or so inches, maybe 4 inches that I can play with right here. I could either make these mounts go away, put in some flat rubber, or I could cut these ears off, drop it down an inch or two and weld it back on. I'm not sure exactly which way I'm going to go yet. I'm leaning towards cutting them off because I want to keep those bushings, and there's plenty of room. The other thing I have to deal with at that point, and I just thought about that, is the fan, because the radiator fan, there's only so much clearance for that thing as well. That's something I have to consider. So I'll look into that a little bit more. Otherwise, everything is clearing. The transmission clears easily. There's plenty of room for the Hydro Boost to bolt up. Of course, the steering column. And I think I can even use my factory inner wheel or inner fenders that I have, came with the 68 truck, and mount this stuff on top. On the passenger side, I'm probably going to do away with the airbox, and not that I have to, but I just want to have probably a more efficient box there. And there will be room, for the inner fender to fit on this side as well. I may have to clearance them where the shocks sit. I think there may be a little bit of an issue there. I'll figure that out when I get to it. I did notch the back of the cab, and the cab is offset right now. It's sitting a little bit to the right. That gap will get smaller if I go to the left. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You can see the cab's up against it right there, or up against the frame. So the other thing, I talked about building the crossmember for the carrier bearing. I'm still kind of debating on that, but the reality is I'm going to have to build something to support the cab, and the mounts, the bolts are right there, just a little offset from the frame. When I adjust it over, it'll be more inboard of the frame. So I may build a crossmember that does multiple things. I may have it support the cab and support the carrier bearing all at the same time, and save me some trouble and make everything work. In the front, I'll have to fab some mounts. There's the original cab mount locations, and come up with something to get that in place. But as you can see, there's all kinds of room up under this cab because it has to sit up. The way this frame is designed, this frame drops down, and I'm pretty excited. I mean, I think this thing looks killer with this configuration. I think the wheel is pretty darn close to being in the center of the opening of the wheel well. And once I get those final adjustments for the hood and get these mounts in, I don't see it being too long before I'll be driving this thing down the road. Can't wait.